Hi there everyone, my name is Vile and I'm bringing you my Assassin Guide for Bomanis. This is a general beginner guide, and if you are new to Blade and Soul and you haven't picked a class yet, hopefully by the end of this guide I will convince you to play an Assassin. If you have picked Assassin, you picked right, my friend, and I will share some knowledge and hopefully get you ready to dunk some scrubs in Arena. Now in this guide I will be going over the talent trees and showing you and explaining what each skill does and potential situations that you would use them in and how you can spec for them for different scenarios. I will also go over animation canceling, general combos, and openers. I will also include a section for getting out of seizes, chokes, and grapples. Now a little bit about myself. I started playing Blade and Soul as of March of last year, and I played on the Russian private server in Europe. I played from NA, and I got about 100 ping there, which was nice, and I enjoyed it. And the class at the time, the Assassin at the time, was less ping reliant than it was now, so I got to really enjoy this. I played there and I got to Platinum rating, which is kind of the higher echelon of rating because nobody will queue past Platinum. Everyone duels and spars and garbage like that. And if you did get to Diamond, it was because your friends helped and boosted you up there. But while all my time that I played in EU, I got to join this wonderful guild who've taught me everything. I really respect them, and I love being part of their family, and they're called SlackerInc. They're wonderful players, and they stream, and they have content, and if you've seen them around, then I'm part of them, and they're awesome guys. So definitely I will leave some of the descriptions. In the description I will leave some streams of some of my guild members and some of their content, and hopefully you would check them out. Now, as far as NA goes, I am a Diamond Assassin on NA, and as of January 26th, I am one of, I believe, 4 or 5 Assassins on NA that are Diamond, and there's 2 on EU, so I'm one of 6 or 7. So I'd like to say that I know a little bit about the game and about the class that I can teach you something and give you some knowledge. So let's talk a little bit about Assassins. As of the 45 patch of the game, where we have no Hungman skills or legendary skills, Hungman levels or legendary skills, we are in the bottom 3 as far as the more powerful classes. Now this game is actually a very balanced game at level 50 with all the content and abilities and skills that we need. Right now the problem is that the game is in an older version than it was for the Asian servers, but the skill trees are updated and they're the same as the Asian servers, but we don't have the additional skills and levels to put into these skills. So we have the skills we need, but we can't put them in. So now there's a balance discrepancy, and there is these kind of tiers as far as classes, which you wouldn't find once we get the whole content and we have up-to-date patches. Now, so there are favorable and unfavorable matchups. Our more favorable matchups are Kung Fu Masters, Blade Masters, and of course other Assassins. Our unfavorable matchups are, if you have played Assassin, I'm sure you've felt it. We've got Scummoners, Blade Cancers, the Derp Destroyers, and Force Masters. And thank fucking God we don't see many Force Masters, especially on NA. So yeah, but the beauty of the Assassin class, even if they're right now weak, trust me, at level 50 you're going to love them. They're amazing. Even if the class itself is so powerful in the right hands that there is always room to outplay. There's always room to outplay. And our class is more reliant on outplaying and predicting and playing mind games than other classes, which are more about having that general game strategy, pressing your abilities and following up your combos in the right manner, and having that solid guideline, that strategy to go into matches with. Assassins always have that element that they need to outplay to do what they have to do. So yeah, that wraps up our talking about assassins, and let's jump right into our skills and abilities, and I'm going to go through what we have at our disposal and how we can use it. So here we are. We are on bnstree.com on the assassin talent tree. So if you want to mess around with your talent trees or save them in somewhere, you can go to this website. It's part of the Imperial Network, a network that I'm part of. So it's really nice to have this resource. Now let's talk about all of our individual abilities before we start speccing into them. So first, onto our tab, on our tab button, we have a few abilities. We have our escape. Now this is not a trinket. I swear to God, if you came from WoW, I completely understand you calling this a trinket, or if you came from any other game, by all means, this is Blade of Soul, and it's your goddamn fucking escape. Don't ever let me catch you calling it a fucking trinket. Anyway, so this is your escape. You can this gets you out of bad situations. If you're stunned, dazed, knocked down, groggied, choked, seized, grappled, whatever, if you're in any sort of CC, your escape will get you out of it. But you have to spec for it to do certain things. If you put 1 point into it, it gets you out of dazes, stuns, and knockdowns. If you put 2 points into it, it gets you out of chokes. And some class have chokes, some class don't. So you spec for it accordingly. Next on our tab is our tab swap. It's called Turning Leaf here. I'm going to use the names that are used here, but in game they did change because this is a different translation. But I call this my tab swap. Now tab swap is a very, very strong ability. It's a wonderful ability. It's used out of stealth, and it swaps you with a target, and now the target is in front of you, and you are now able to use another one of your ability to dash behind them, behind their back, and get into stealth. Really powerful ability to start one of your combos off. Especially powerful against classes that don't have any block mechanics, because if they do have block mechanics, it will get blocked. So make sure you don't use them into blocks, and if they are a class like a derp destroyer or a blade cancer that spins around, then you can use this against them, and it's one of the ways that we can get through their spin, which can only be penetrated with knockdowns. Now our next ability is our Shadow Kick or Shadow Break. If you are in stealth and you want to reduce or stop your stealth time, then you would use this ability to break your stealth and come out of stealth. Very simple. Our next ability is our Flash Kick. Now this you will not use very often. But when you spec for it, it becomes one of our core abilities, and I'm going to talk about it, assuming that we spec for it. And this is your web. After an aerial combo, or if you knock down the enemy, you can web them to prolong the amount of time that they're stuck on the ground. Now damage does cancel this, so you want to use this when they're on the ground, web them, and then set yourself up to be able to go into stealth and now re-enter stealth, and then follow up with a stun or another CC type. Then we have our Hook Kick. Our Hook Kick is a wonderful ability. It is used when we have a poison proc on the target. Assassins have abilities that sometimes apply poisons. And when the enemy has a poison applied to them, you can kick them with this ability, and it's an out-of-stealth ability, and it will send you into stealth and regenerate 5 of your cheek, which is really, really, really nice to continue combos, or even get back into stealth if you're in a bad situation. And last but not least, for our tab, we have our knock-up kick, our sweeping gale as it's called here, but it's probably different on the officials. And this when a target is stunned or dazed, it will kick them up into the air, and you will do one of those amazing aerial combos that you've probably seen or enjoyed doing before. Very simple. So next we have our F. Now our F is a proc ability, and you will get them. It's not on your general action bars, and when you're playing the game, certain conditions will allow you to use an F ability according to the scenario condition that your enemy is in or something that you have done. It's a chain skill, or it's based on, as I said, a pre-existing condition of the enemy. So one of the abilities we have is our, this is called Leaf Sunder on the officials. And after you use your escape, your tab escape, which does it like a back roll of a half a mile long away from the target, you are able to then use your Leaf Sunder and dash right behind your target. To kind of catch up and use the time that they're stuck in a flashbang from your tab escape. I'm sorry I didn't mention that. Your escape has this flashbang effect. It's really, really cool. If you fought another assassin you might have seen, or if in videos where everything goes white, and it kind of like stagger stuns them for a little for a second. Now Leaf Sunder is procced off of, again, your tab escape. Your SS, if you SS backwards, that is your double backflip backwards, you are then able to use your Leaf Sunder, or if you spect into your Q, which is your sidestep. Now what this ability does, it puts you right behind a target, so it's really good for closing distances. Also, it increases your evasion chance by 100% for 1 second. So it's really, really nice. If you use it out of stealth and they use an ability into it, it will dodge it. So really nice there. And also it messes with the camera angles and of the enemy, because you go around them and it changes up and it kind of disorients them a little bit. So really nice, wonderful ability. I love it a lot. Next we have our Shadow Kill. I believe this is called on officials. Now you can spec differently for this, and this is, you spec either the PvE version or you spec the PvP version, and you will change these even in PvP according to the matchup that you're facing. So I want to show this because this ability changes up. So if you're doing PvE, you would spec 2 points into the Lightning Pierce, Lightning Kill, and this increase if you get a crit with your Heart Stab, and the general combo and the general DPS rotation is using your Heart Stab, which is your RB button, and then this following this up, and every time you use your Heart Stab, you will proc the ability, the chain skill of this Lightning Kill. And if you crit with it, you get the empowered version of this. Now, if you are speccing for PvP, or the class that you're fighting against is a class that you would use this ability, we have the Close Shave. And when this ability is looks like an RKO, like a neck swap, a decapitate, really, really cool. And what it does is when a target is stunned, at the end of it, you would use this, and it kind of like prolongs the animation that they're stuck in a stun, and it gives you that half a second that you're able to follow up and chain it into another combo. So this is why this ability is so powerful, because there's that extra little animation time that they're stuck in that they can't react once the stun is actually over. So what you would do is you stun them for the full duration, do damage during the full duration of the stun, and right when it's about to end, you use this, prolong the stun, get a little bit extra damage, heal a tiny little bit, and then you can follow it up into a chain stun. Love this ability a lot, and I have this against most of my matchups. Next, we have our back roll. Very, very, very important ability. When you get knocked down or dazed, you are able to use this ability called your back roll. Now, you only have a window to do it. So at the beginning of your knockdown or daze, you have about, I believe, a second window or less to use your back roll. And during the animation of your back roll, you are immune. But as you are landing, you are no longer immune. So you can abuse this, or they will abuse it against you. And this is how in this game, you follow up combos. If your abilities were a knockdown or a daze, you chain them off of the back roll. So the second you use one of these dazes and you expect and you predict that the opponent is going to back roll, you wait for the back roll before you use your next stun or ability that you were going to follow up with. You wait for it, they will back roll. As they are landing, you hit them with it. And I will show you an example of this in the combo section. Next is our Swift Step, which is also called, I believe, a Leaf Step on officials. This is a daze kick. After it gets procced, after you use your woodblock, your decoy, your 2, if you use your 2 and you don't end up going to stealth, or you believe that the enemy is not going to hit your woodblock, you can then proc your F leaf step and hit them, go behind them and hit them and daze them for 3 seconds. So really, really nice ability. And you can spec for it also to knock down against certain classes like destroyers and LBMs and blade dancers, which are less affected by dazes than other classes. Then we have our 1. Now, assassins have stances, and they have their out of stealth stance, and they have their in stealth stance, and their general and their action bar abilities. So they're so 1 through 4, and their Z through V, and even their LB and RBs will change. Actually, their whole entire skill set will change most of the time. So let's say 80% of the skills will change depending on the stance that you're in. Now, if you're out of stealth, you will have your 1. This is your infiltrate. This allows you to go into stealth when you're behind an enemy. If you're not behind an enemy, it will dash to the enemy, and So you can use this to close the gap to do something to the enemy if you're out of stealth, or if you're behind them, you can use this to get into stealth and change your stance and follow up with CC combos, because assassins are the most powerful when they're in stealth, because that's when we have a lot of CC to work with. Nextly, when you're in stealth, when you're finally in stealth, you have your sweep kick. Now, this is, if you don't spec any points into it, this is a knockdown that will make the target unconscious. If you've played WoW, it's very similar to a sap. It knocks the target unconscious for 30 seconds and kind of incapacitates them. So that's a PvE kind of thing. But if you spec into it, it can either knock down or daze. So depending on the matchup that you're in, you might want to use this in different manners. Now, when you are knocked down, and also in this game, when there's certain kind of CCs that will push you into a different stance and will change your abilities accordingly. When you're knocked down, you have one of 2 abilities as an assassin, and one of them is your Shuriken Flurry, and that allows you to get up quickly. So if you get knocked down, you can get up quickly with your Shuriken Flurry, get back on your feet. And now if you are choked, then it will change your stance as well. And in your choke, you have this ability called Thrash. And that will just kick the enemy who is choking you. So you're kind of getting seized, you're getting force choked, let's say for an example. And then you just kick them in the mouth while they're, kick them in the chest while they're choking you to do a little bit of damage. So now let's go to our 2 ability. So our 2 is our decoy. One of our bread and butter abilities. This is our block. This is how we get into stealth a lot of the times. And you want to use this when an incoming ability is coming. Now, when you use ability, you have 2 seconds that 1.5 seconds that you are countering. And in that 1.5 seconds, if any incoming ability comes towards you, unless it's a specific ability that breaks pierce or defenses, then you will go into stealth and show up behind the enemy. Wonderful ability, really powerful, and it's on an 8-second cooldown. So be really careful when you use it. It's not a super long cooldown, but you still want to use it accordingly. You don't want to waste it. You want to kind of really feel it and get the timing right and try to understand the patterns of your opponent and then use it accordingly. Now for when you going back to when you're stuck in a certain CC, your knockdown CC, for example, you have your 1 is your get up quickly. Your 2 is the same as your 2 when you're same as your decoy, but a decoy for when you're on the ground, and it's much shorter. It's only 0.8 seconds that you are countering for, as opposed to 1.5 when you're on your feet. So when you're knocked down and the enemy is still hitting you while you're knocked down, you can use this ability, and then you will show up behind them and stun the enemy as well. So use this so it's a really strong ability. Learn to use it against enemies who don't know how to really deal damage to somebody who's knocked down. Next, when we're in stealth, we are able to apply a time bomb on the back of the enemy. So when you get close to them in your stealth, you apply a bomb to the back of them. If you don't spec points into this, this will refresh the duration of your poisons that are stacked on the enemy once your once the 7-second duration of the bomb actually detonates. If you spec for it, you can spec for it to also daze or knock down when it explodes. So really interesting, a really interesting ability that you can play around with. And last but not least is our last but not least is our retaliate. Stripping lotus is called here, but when you are choked, seized, grappled, and I will show this later on in the guide, you are able to use an ability to get out of the ability they want to use on you. Now, when somebody chokes or grapples you, they change stances, very similar to how we change a stance when we're either in a CC or we go into stealth. So when they do choke you or grapple or seize you, they now have new abilities to use. And if they decide to use those abilities, there will be a frame, a time frame, a cast bar that you can see, and you can punish them for using an ability on you with this button. So you don't want to use this just like for nothing. You don't want to waste this. You want to wait. You want to be careful, and you want to use it at the opportune, the right moment when they're using an ability to counter them. So next is our 3 ability. We have is our Shadow Slash. I love everything about this ability when I can afford to spec points into it. Now when I spec points into it, it will knock down the enemy. It's absolutely wonderful, but it's a skill shot. So it has a radius and an area that it will hit. So you have to aim it. If you miss it, you miss it. You didn't hit anybody. So and it's a kind of short range at the moment. It's very, very short range actually. Later on, hopefully, it's going to be much longer. It's going to be really, really nice. If I don't spec points into it for the knockdown, then don't worry about this ability at all. It's just kind of a filler in a DPS rotation. And next, when we are, and that was, sorry, and Shadow Slash is when you're out of stealth. When you're in stealth, you have your Shadowless step. It's a really cool ability, and what it does is when you spec for it, and you will, it will go, you are in stealth, and you will go above the enemy, and you will show up above his head and land down and stun them, and then you'll do a backflip backwards, and then it will refresh the duration of your stealth. So you can use this to get a stun off, or you can use this just to stall for time. Really interesting ways you can use it, and in my guides and my other guides you will see how I use it in different scenarios. As far as your 4 goes, you have your Poison Breath. Now Poison Breath on its own is not particularly worth notice, but when you spec points into it, you will get a Poison Moth. And what this moth does is it will stack one poison stack on the enemy, and it seals defensive abilities. So if I put it on another assassin, then I'm no longer able to use my counter, my decoy, my woodblock, to try to get into stealth. Neither can I use my one when I'm neither can I use the counter when I'm on the ground. So it seals that for me for 8 seconds. And in those 8 seconds, you know that you can have your way with whatever opponent that has block skills, and know that your abilities will not get blocked. So really, really good ability. And that is when you are out of stealth, so you can use Moth. When you're in stealth, you have your Lightning Rod. Now your Lightning Rod is an AoE stun, and it sweeps. It does an AoE sweep stun cone in front of you, and you'll see that it has a 5-meter radius. It has a 5-meter area, and a little bit of a long cooldown, but you can spec for it to change that. Now this is a really good ability to follow up, especially knockdown stuns. It's a great stun in general to use, but and you just want to figure out at what point in your combos that you want to implement this ability. If you don't have, especially if they're knocked down, because when they're knocked down, it won't allow you to use your LB stun, and I will show you that later on. So next we have our, let's keep going right. So then we have our LB, our LB, which are Mist Slash. This is your auto attack. This is your regenerating chi. When you use it, it gives you back 1 chi. Very simple. Right now we can't afford to put any points into it. Not much to say about this ability. But this ability, used in unison with your RB ability, which is your primary DPS ability as an assassin, is using these two in unison together. And when you use these two in unison, and you do it at a correct pace, you get something called animation canceling. And because if your Misslash has an animation of its own, and if you use it, it kind of swipes a little swipe. And then your Heart Stab also has an animation of its own where it thrusts into the enemy. And if you use these quickly enough and in unison at the right pace, you will cancel the whole animation of both of these abilities to then in turn put out more damage just by sheer output, because you're saving time on not going through the full animations. So you really want to get good at this concept called animation canceling between your LB and RB, and I will show you later in the video how to do that. So that's your LB, and when you're out of stealth, of course. Now when you're in stealth, you have your LB stun. This is your bread and butter stun. This is what starts all the combos. So you got your LB stun, 9-second cooldown, very short, but that requires you to be in stealth. And getting in stealth, you're rewarded out of getting in stealth in 3 ways. And 2 of them are by outplaying or predicting your opponent. 1 of them is by pressing a button and that you have to spec for it, and I will show that in a second. So yeah, this is your bread and butter. It stacks 1 poison on the enemy, and it stacks the bleed, and it stuns them for 2 seconds. And this is how you start most of your combos off. Really, really good ability. Then you have, when the enemy is in the air, when you've knocked them up with your sweeping kick, you can use your volley. And this is your aerial combo. It hits them in the air, and then you can follow it up with the pile drive that I'm sure you guys have seen and enjoyed doing before, because it feels fucking amazing when you can do it. But in PvP, there's rarely any chances that you will actually be able to use this pile drive. So what you would usually do is you do the aerial combo, this volley, and prolong the duration, do some more damage while they're in the air, and as they land, you Spider-Man web them, which I talked about before. So yeah, and also, if you're a certain distance away from the enemy, you have to be at least 9 meters away, and they're in a stun or a daze, you can use this high wire. And a high wire is an ability very similar to the web, but for stun or dazes, that prolongs the duration that they're stuck in that stun. But you can't, and you're holding them with a wire. You're holding onto them, but you can't DPS those wireless. But this ability will change 3 of your abilities, your Z, your X, and your C, into different abilities, and you can use them according to the scenario that you're in, and I will explain that in a moment. So moving on, we have our Heart Stab. Again, as I said, your bread and butter. Now this ability, you spec as many points as you can to it, because you need this ability so much. This is all your damage, and this is all your damage. And when you spec further into it, when the enemy is in a stun, then it goes faster. It has, you'll see, if you don't have any points to do it, it has a long animation. But when the enemy's in a stun, it will go much, 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 much faster. So you spec points into this, and when it's at the fastest we can get on the current patch, then you can use it in unison with, as I said, your LB, and get this animation canceling. Next, we have our Guard Break. Now, when the enemy is defending, like let's say we're another assassin uses his decoy, and we're within melee range of him, we're literally standing in front of each other, and we both use our decoy, or he just uses his decoy, I can kick him in the mouth with this Guard Break, and it will stun him. So it will change, because when out of stealth, I usually, when I'm in melee range, which is your DPS range, you Heart Stab the opponent. But if they're blocking, then your Heart Stab will turn into Guard Break, because of the condition where the target is defending, as you see the requirement on the ability. So yeah, so really, really nice. Next, we have our Blink Step, our teleport. When we're out of combat, this game has in combat and out of combat. And out of combat, you can run, sprint, glide, jump in the air, and jump in the air. And when you are in the air and gliding and sprint or gliding fast, you can use this ability to teleport and dash and show up instantly behind the target and go into stealth. So really nice to start arena matches, or just in general, when you're out of combat, get into stealth against the opponent. Last but not least, for RB, we've got our lightning stride, which is called your bolt step. Your bolt step is probably the it is the highest damage ability that you have. And how this ability works is that it is procced off of the two conditions, which is either you're using your wood block, your decoy. If you're using your decoy, then it will allow you to proc your RB step, or you SS'd. You used your double backflip, you stepped backwards. And also that you're out of stealth, sorry, and that you're out of stealth. So when those conditions are met, you can use this ability, and this ability does more damage, a significant amount more damage, when there's poison stacks on the enemy. The more poison stacks, the more damage it does. So a really, really strong execute, kind of to finish your combos off, or to, if you can, implement in between your combos and then continue them. So yeah, really cool ability, and it also is a dash, so you can use it to close the gap if needed, or run away. Alright, so next we have our Q. Now right now our Q and E do the same thing, but once we get to level 46, our Q and E will be two different abilities. Now this is a wonderful ability, our Q. It has an 8-second cooldown, and what it does is that we sidestep, we dodge to the side. We dodge to the side of the enemy and if you do it, when an ability is incoming, then you will, then you will go into stealth. You're rewarded. This is your second ability that rewards you by outplaying, and you get stealth by outplaying your or dodging or blocking ability of your opponent. So really, really good ability, and if you spec points into it, it will just give you back more chi and allow you to use your leaf sunder, as I said before. So we're not going to worry much about E right now because we don't have it. So then we have our SS. Oh, sorry, I wanted to also mention that our Q is an iframe. As an iframe. So in the animation of the Q, we're immune to everything. And if something happened in the the reason why we get a stealth is if something happened to us, an ability came into us during that iframe, we're rewarded with stealth. So that is your Q. Now your SS is a double backflip backwards. Or it's not a double backflip, just one backflip backwards. And it's an 8-second cooldown, and what it does is in the backflip, you have an iframe. We don't have any iframes after the backflip. Some classes have a 1-second iframe. Blade Masters have a 2-second iframe after the SS. So you have to learn the iframe durations on SSs, on the backsteps of the enemy classes that you're facing, so you make sure that you don't blow any abilities or use any CC into that time that they're immune. So yeah, that's your backstep, really nice, and of course you do a backstep backwards. So if you want to go towards the enemy, you're gonna have to turn your camera and backflip towards them, or if you want to run away, then just do your thing, face them. Next is our bomb. Now our bomb can be spec'd in many different ways, and I'm going to show the ways that we can spec them. And what your bomb does is it changes depending on how you spec, of course. So we have your groggy bomb. So first, if you don't spec into it, the bomb knocks down. If you put points into it, the bomb dazes when the enemy was poisoned. And there are combos, of course, where you're able to proc a poison and then proc the bomb, and it will daze them. And the difference between dazing and knocking down is that when you're knocked down, as I said, you have options. You have your ground options when you're knocked down. But when you're dazed, you only have one, which is your back roll. Or of course, your escape. And you can use your escape for everyone. But let's assume that you didn't have an escape. When you're knocked down, you have 3 abilities at your disposition. You have your get up quickly, your ground counter, or your back roll within the allotted time. If you're dazed, you can only back roll. So it's so as far as doing combos, you would generally prefer to have a daze ability than a knockdown because it takes away from the options that the enemy has to work with. Next, we have an ice bomb. Very interesting ability. What the ice bomb does, it's a much larger radius than a regular groggy or knockdown bomb. And what it does is that it freezes the opponent, regardless of what stance they're in, regardless of what they're doing. It freezes the opponent, unless they're in an iframe. It freezes the opponent, and for 8 seconds, and they're stuck there. Just like they can't do a damn thing, they can't escape it in any way, shape, or form. So this would allow you to even set up and go into stealth, move behind them and go into stealth, or stall for time, let's say, if you're trying to get your escape back up. And next we have our poison grenade. And this, unlike the other two abilities, the bomb, which you place on the ground, below you, this grenade can be and the ice bomb, which is placed on the ground below you, this can be thrown. So you can toss this, and it will do damage on explosion as it connects, and it will also stack a poison on the enemy. Next, we have our shuriken. Now, we don't use shuriken in PvP very often. What we use is a variation of the smoke screen. Now, what the smoke screen does is it puts a cloud around you, and in this cloud, you are immune to projectiles. So we'll sit there for 10 seconds, and if an enemy has projectiles, ranged abilities, for example, or ranged abilities, it will not go through. It will not go through, and how you can and also, but the main reason why we use this is for the chi regeneration. In this cloud, it gives us a massive amount of chi regeneration. And right now, our combos, our big kill combos, which are very long, require so much chi that this is such an indispensable, invaluable ability that we need to be able to have the chi we need to dish out as much damage as we can within these combos. So another way we can spec for this is a stealth. So this is your third way that you can get stealth. I hate this ability. I hate it so much. I hate being rewarded because stealth is, you will see, and many people will bitch about it. Stealth is a very powerful mechanic. And unlike different games with stealth mechanics, where you can probably just press buttons and go into stealth, you can only go into stealth in Blade and Soul as an assassin after being rewarded for outplaying your opponent, as I said. But this takes away from that, and I don't like that, especially because stealth is so powerful in the current in this game in general. So I hate this ability. But what it does is you press the button and it puts you to stealth for 10 seconds. 10 seconds is a long time. Usually you have a 6-second stealth timer, but 10 seconds is huge. But it comes at a high price of a minute 30 cooldown, the highest cooldown we have in our kit. So yeah, that is smokescreen. Next off, we have that. Sorry, and as I said, sorry, just to go back a little bit. Your Z, your bomb is in stealth and out of stealth. It will stay the same. Your X, your smokescreen, is only out of stealth. In stealth, your X smokescreen becomes your throwing dagger. And your throwing dagger is a 2-part ability. And you throw the dagger, and it's very similar to a shuriken. You throw it, and you put it on the back of the enemy. And now once it's on the enemy, you can proc now your sneak attack, your shadow step, behind them that will, when you spec for it, daze the opponent. So throwing dagger will also stack a poison on the enemy, and it will slow their movement speed. And on the reproc, when you press X again, you will move behind them, teleport behind them very quickly, might I add, and it will daze them. So really strong ability, especially to follow up combos. So now you can kind of see a combo that can be developed between the groggy bomb, the daze bomb grenade, and then after that, after they've backrolled and you wasted their backroll, you can hit them with another daze, and now it's almost like a stun because they have no options out of it. So, and next we have And next we have our poison shuriken. Our poison shuriken happens when we dodge or evade when we dodge an ability or immune an ability with your Q, with your SS, or if you use an immunity on your lotus sphere, your lotus dance, and I will get to that in a second. So what it does is that it does an empowered shuriken, and that it will proc also a poison on the enemy. A poison stack, it will additional stack. Also, just to note, poison stacks, the second you put apply a new poison stack, it will refresh the duration of all your poison stacks. And also, last but not least, for X is our high wire act. Now this goes back to our silver wire, or high wire it's called here, but I think it's silver wire on officials. And now, when you used your high wire, it will change the stances of your X, your C, and your V ability. Now, when you're holding on to them with this wire, you can use your X. What your X does is that it knocks them down. So, so you can use this, and while you're using your wire, you can also freely move as long as you're within the 9-meter range. If you're moving far away, or you can also move closer once you've already got the wire on them. So you can move yourself behind the enemy, reposition yourself, knock them down, and then sneak right and then stealth right into them and go back into stealth. So one way you can use this ability. So now moving on to your C abilities, you've got your Lotus Fury. Now I love this ability also, really strong, and it changes the way you spec for it. Now, how I usually spec for it against almost every single one of my matchups except for one at the moment, which is Kung Fu Masters, I spec for 1 or 2 points, 1 point into it, and what it does is that it makes you immune to damage or status effects. Now, how this ability works is that it does 5 attacks. So it's a channeled ability, and it has 5 ticks. So you hit the enemy for 5 ticks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in those ticks that you're hitting them, you are completely immune and resistant to damage or any changes in CC. So you can use this to stall. You can use this to and if you use it in a predicting manner, if you think an ability is coming, you can use this if you don't have anything else at your disposal, and it will immune that ability that you were so scared of. So wonderful ability, and this can be used in stealth and out of stealth. And now, if you're against a KFM, or if you want to spec for it, by all means, you can spec for this to be a stun, and it's a very short range stun, and it stuns the enemy for 3 seconds on if you're behind them. So you kind of want to follow this up with, so you kind of want to use this as a follow-up stun if you've already stunned them or dazed them. So this stuns for 3 seconds if you're behind the enemy, or they're mobile, or they're stunned, they're immobilized already, or they're poisoned. And it stuns for 3 seconds. So really nice right now, especially against KFMs, because if we use our Lotus Fury against a KFM, they can Q and E around it and get iframes and stacks of agility, and I will explain that in a KFM video. So that is why we don't use it against KFMs. But yeah, really cool ability. I love it a lot. Good shit. Next we have, going back to our silver wires, our high wire, is the other ability we can use when we've got our wires onto them. So when we have a wire onto them, our next ability with our C is the high voltage. And what this will do, will just shock the enemy. It's just like an extra little burst of damage, and it's really cool. It looks amazing. I love it. I love it if I ever have the chance to use it, and it just shocks the enemy for a little burst of damage. And that's it. Last but not least, we have our flower. I have a love-hate relationship with flower. Our flower is our second escape out of CC, but it only works on stuns and dazes. Now, when you spec into this for PvP, you will spec into it in this manner for now. And when you spec into it, what it does is you place a flower, so you have to consciously put it down. This is an escape that's not built into your kit. You have to put it down. And when the flower is down, it lasts 20 seconds. If you get hit by a CC, you can then activate it. You have to press it again, and then it will teleport you to wherever you placed your flower. So let's say you place your flower in one corner of the arena, and you're fighting in the other corner, and then you get hit by a stun, and you don't want to use your tab escape, or if you don't have it, you hit your flower, and then you teleport all the way back to the other side of the arena. So it's really cool as far as the utility you can give for repositioning, but the shitty part is that you'll find yourself sometimes where where the fucking flower falls because you have to re-put it down after the 20 seconds. After 20 seconds, and you have to re-put it down, and you'll find yourself when you need it, it's never fucking there. So it's really frustrating. It's a love-hate relationship I got with this ability. And that can be used in stealth and out of stealth. But it will take you out of stealth if you use it in stealth. Same with your Lotus Fury. Now for your your last ability, and the last ability of our kit is our pull high wire cord, which is with your silver wires, paired with your silver wires. This very similar to your your knockdown, but what it does is will daze. It will pull him to you. So now you're holding on to them. This will pull him. You'll pull him to you, and it will daze him. So now let's put some points into these abilities and talk about what matchups you would kind of want to use this for. As again, your tab escape, as I already explained, if you put 1 point into it, gets you out of, as it says right there, stun, daze, knockdown, or unconscious. If you put 2 points, you got your grapple, phantom, or your force choke, and seizes. So if you're not facing an LBM, a blade dancer, a force master, or a summoner, then you don't want to take this ability. Sure, you can. A destroyer does, and even a KFM has a seize or a suppress, a grapple, but you're not particularly scared of what they can do to you within that. For the other classes, you are scared. So for the most part, you would grab 1 point into it. Your web, as I said, this is one of your core abilities for all of your for most of your classes, or most of your matchups. Then, of course, depending on the matchup that you're facing, you take either the close shave, which I take against every single class except for 2. The 2 being assassin and summoner, which I take with RB. Now, some people don't even want to play with this. Some people just play with the 2 points because they don't like close shave. That's up to you, and that's completely for you to change your play style. But that means that you don't have the close shave to continue to prolong combos. So you got to really make sure that you get your timing right on your stuns, that you don't waste, that they don't get out of your stuns before they finish. So this is a completely optional ability. You either take that or the lightning kill or the close shave, depending on your play style. As I said, your swift step, I take 1 point into it against destroyers because at the moment I can only afford to put 1 point into it against destroyers. Against LBMs, I have to take this point out and I got to put it into my tab escape. But if you find points, if you want to allocate points to it, I definitely do recommend having this against any class that spins. And you can also play this against other classes. Again, up to you. See what works for you. Next, we have our infiltrate or shadows. You get 3 points into this every single time. This is completely core. You will get this against everyone. What 3 points will give you? It will give you if you don't get into stealth, and if you use it just to close the gap, it will give you a 99% evasion chance for 1 second. And this will like throw off a whole bunch of people. They'll see you in their face because you didn't get into stealth and be like, what the hell is this idiot doing? And they'll use an ability and it will get evaded. So really nice to put 2 points into this. The 3 points reduces the cooldown from 9 seconds to 6, and you really need this to be able to follow up combos. Really, really good. Nextly, as I said, my Shadow Slash, one of my favorite abilities, I take 3 points into this, and it becomes a knockdown and disables charge skills as well, so they can't use dashes or any gap closers against me once I've hit them with this ability. It seals dash abilities, gap closers, and it also slows them for 40% for 6 seconds. But it's a skill shot. You have to land this, and it's a bit of a high cooldown too. So be mindful when you use it. If you don't spec points into it, then It's not really useful in any way, shape, or form. It's used as a filler. We have our Shadowless Step, as I talked about it before. 2 points into this. This is your core. You will have this against every single matchup. Then we have our Time Bomb. As I said, if you spec into it, it dazes, or if you spec 2 points into it, it knocks down. Right now, I don't have enough points to put into this, and also having 7 seconds that I have to wait on it for to do something, doesn't really work with me because I can't really control when this ability is going to detonate. So right now, I don't particularly recommend it, but you can play around with it if you want. You can play around with any of these abilities. See what works for you. Then we have our Lightning Rend. Our Lightning Rend, really great ability. I love it. If I can, I spec 2 points into it. But sometimes it has to take the back seat. So it is one of those abilities that I will give up 2 points into this. As much as I would love to take it every time, sometimes it's got to go because I just need other things that are more important. So this is especially important against classes like Destroyers and Blade Dancers because I play so much off of knockdowns, and this is such a strong ability when the enemy is knocked down. Then our Poison Moths. I spec 3 points into Poison Moths against every single class, but you can, if you want, not take any points into it against Assassins. Because I know what it's like when Assassins are PvEing you in stealth, and some people might not want 3 points into it. They want to reallocate 3 points to somewhere else, and they just want to use a Poison Breath and AoE thing to get the Assassin out of stealth. So I understand that. Next is our Spinal Tap. This is a completely core ability against any opponent that blocks. If the opponent doesn't block, for example, a Blade Master, sorry, not Blade Dancer, oh my god, Blade Master you wanted, of course, against a Blade Dancer or a Destroyer, you can do without. So again, you have to change your skill build according to every matchup, and also this ability does take the backseat against classes that don't block or you don't stun very often. Like for example, Summoners. I don't stun Summoners very often, so I don't take this. Yep, so next we've got our Heart Stab. You take 4 points in this ability against every single class, completely core, unquestionable. This will increase, it will do more damage, it will allow you, it will increase the speed when the enemies are in CC, stuns or dazes. And also if you use your wood block within a certain time, within the first 0.5 seconds, if you use your decoy, your 2 stealth, your 2 block, if you use it within 0.5 seconds, you will use a Venom Pierce, which is an empowered version that procs a poison stack. Then we have our Flower. As I said, 3 points in your Flower. You take that shit every time. Against Summoners, I put 4 points into it. Now, again, Lotus Fury, you always have at least 1 point, and then you change depending on the matchup you're in. If you're against KFMs at the moment, I put 2. If you're against a Summoners or a class that you feel that they do a lot of damage, like sustained damage, and you want to heal it up, you can grab 2 points, and the 2 points will heal you for the damage dealt and heal you for 2% of your health every time you resist the damage. So it's really, really nice. If you know a lot of damage is going to come into you and it's a lot of very frequent damage, then you can use the ability into that and heal up for a significant amount. And then your bomb, you change this depending on what matchup you're up, what you need. For example, I take this against Blade Masters, Kung Fu Masters, classes that I want to really CC off of dazes, Assassins as well. I would take that against. Then I take the Grenade against Summoners because I just want to do a lot of poke damage. And if you want to do poke damage, you can take it against Summoners, Destroyers if you want, or any class that you want to do a lot of hit and run tactics against. And then you have the Ice Bomb, and the Ice Bomb you kind of you can use against Assassins or even Destroyers to kind of lock them in place. But it's kind of rude to use it against other Assassins. I don't recommend it. I realize how scummy this ability is, so yeah, I don't like using it. But you can. It makes things a lot easier. Let me tell you that though, against Assassins especially. And then you have your smoke screen. Again, I take 2 points of smoke screen against everyone. Against summoners, I will take 3 points for the extra healing when I'm sitting inside it. And if you want to be a scumbag, you can start taking this ability against whoever how you want. But I don't recommend it. But you can if you want. You know, who am I? Who am I to tell you? And then second last, almost done, we've got our sneak attack or daze. You have this against every single class. And the only time maybe you would take out of it is against summoner because you don't use it so often. But and you just allocate it to something that's more important. But this ability really strong. It's just one of those really core PvP abilities. And last but not least, if you have points left over, and if you have 2 points, playing with this Q, this like better version of your Q ability, is real nice if you have a chance to. Because what changes is that it becomes 8 meters. So if something's coming from further away, this will give you more time to dodge it. And if someone's more of a distance from you, a distance that you're not able to currently Q because the normal Q is the normal sidestep is 3 meters. If they're a little further away, this will allow you to Q when someone's more further away. And you can dodge more potentially, especially if they're further from you. So really nice ability. I like it a lot if I have the chance to spike into it. So yeah, that's it for my talent. That's it for my talent trees and abilities. So let's go move on to animation canceling. So a question I get a lot, and why I had to remake this guide to include it in, is how do you animation cancel? Well, I'm glad you asked, because this is one of the most important abilities or techniques that we need on being a successful assassin, because your LB and RB animation cancel is right now the highest, and will always be the highest amount of damage output that we can do. That we can do, because that is how our damage gets out. It's not through abilities, it's through this animation canceling. So I'm going to give you the secret technique that I use to be able to animation cancel. So actually, let's change channels to where the guy's not farming this shit. So here we go. I'm going to change my webcam so you guys can look right at my mouse. All right, you guys see it? It's my mouse right there. Alright, so we're going to go right up. We're going to go right up to this fucking bear. And here we go. We're going to swap them. We're going to LB for the stun. And I'm just going to fucking press LB and RB. And I'm going to do it again. I'm going to press LB and RB. And then I'm just going to, actually no, I'm going to come in. I'm going to groggy him. And I'm going to LB and RB. And that is animation canceling, boys. You press LB and then you press fucking RB. It's not so hard. It's like riding a bike. You can't teach someone how to ride a bike. You gotta learn and feel how to ride a bike. So you figure it out according to your ping and your goddamn fucking internet, and get the pace right and see how many LBs and RBs you can get in a fucking stun within the duration of the time allotted. And then some people go, hey, Lyle, what is the rotation? Bro, you get as many as you can in. Get as many as you can. What do you start with? Start with LB, just for chi purposes. And also sometimes when you stun somebody, the game, and you do it too quick, let's see if it works here. Yeah, see, as you, what's that? I fucked it up, never mind. When you try to stun somebody, when you stun somebody and you start with your RB, your hard stab, sometimes the game might not register that they're completely in the stun effect, and it won't go quickly. It won't be the max speed RB. So start with LB just for generating chi purposes, because you used up some chi. So start with LB. Go LB RB LB RB and see how many you can fucking get. If you can get 3 LB RBs, 3 cancels, fucking wonderful. If you can only get 2 and an LB and then a kick up in the air, then do that. That's what your ping allows you to do. So just practice. Holy fuck, it's not so hard, boys. Come on, just big fucking deal. Also, RBF and stealth is not animation canceling. You just press that as fast as you fucking can. Who cares? So yeah, animation canceling, boys. You're welcome. So welcome to the combo section, and I know this is what you guys have been waiting for because the combos are what make you fall in love with this class in the first place, right? Those flashy combos, those big plays, those sweet moves, the sweet lockdowns, the CC chains, really, really cool. So now there's just a lot of variations in assassin combos, but they're similar up until a certain point, and I will show you when they change. Now this is one of my favorite combos. And if I can, I would love to use this against almost everybody. But sometimes some combos are safer than others. This is your most risky, one of your riskier combos. And it's but the high, if it comes with high risk, it comes with high reward. And I just want to show you how powerful this combo is because it's infinite. So here we go. Let me start this match off. So right now I'm facing a KFM. He's a friend. I'm just using him as a dummy. So let's say you're fighting a class that's not a spin class. And this combo is particularly powerful against non-spin classes. So I started off and I swap. Now once I swap, he's now in front of me and I'm behind him. I use my 1 to sneak into stealth and I will stun him with my LB. Now in the stun duration, I use my LB and RB in unison and output a lot of damage through the animation cancelling. So here we go. At the end of the animation cancelling, I will then kick him into the air as the stun is ending. It's a 2-second stun, so at the end of it, I get a feel for it, and I kick him into the air. As I kick him into the air, I follow up with my LB, aerial volley. Here we go. And now this is a little bit of a tricky part. As they are falling, you use your web. Now, if you use it too early, they will get webbed and stuck in the air. If you use it a little later, as they're kind of halfway up the screen, you will catch them and you will leave them on the ground. So as he's in the air, I'm going to use my moths, my poison moths. You don't have to use it when they're in the air. I'm just used to it. You can use it at another time that I will show you. But I use my moths in the air because it travels to him. So and as he's falling, it's going to come down and I will web him. As he gets webbed, I will drop my X smoke grenade to regenerate. As you can see, my chi came back. Regenerate some chi. I will drop my smoke grenade. I will also drop my bomb, and I will drop my flower. Because if my flowers, you always want your flower down. And my flower wasn't down, so I took that time and opportunity to put my flower down. So I take a few steps back, and this is the second moment where you could use your moths, your four poison moths if you wanted. So I take a few steps back, and now I'm going to use my 1 again and sneak back into stealth into him. So now they snuck back into stealth comes the second tricky part. And now this is where assassin combos change. Now this is where they vary. Some people have different combos, you can do different things, but up until this point, they are all the same. As far as like your general kill combo. It's everything after this that changes. So now here, this is one of the ways that I like to use it, is I've snuck into stealth, and I'm going to, this is going to be very quick and this is going to be tricky, and you guys are going to get your timing down. I'm going to proc my X Shadow Shuriken, the first of the second step. So the second part, as I said, it dazes. The first step just procs, does a little bit of damage, slows them, it slows them, does a little bit of damage, stacks a poison proc. And the damage, the onset damage, will break my web. So the second he does this, the second I use my X, my Shadow Shuriken, I'm going to explode my bomb too. So I'm going to very quickly X and then Z. So here we go, X and then Z, and because I play with the Groggy Bomb, he had one option to get out of the daze. And within the 1 second or 0.8 seconds that you have in that window, you can backflip. Now, when they back roll, that is what they use to escape out of it. Now, as he's coming out of the back roll, as he's putting his feet on the ground, and he's immune during the actual back roll animation, but as he's landing, he's no longer immune. He doesn't have an iframe. So I'm going to follow up my stun, my combo with my 4 sweep lightning rod. So here we go, boom. So I hit him, do some more animation canceling, and I'm going to use my R close shave to kind of prolong and do a little bit more damage, prolong the stun and give him the kind of that stagger stun where he's stuck in the animation of being RKO'd, close shaved. So once I finish this, I'm going to follow up with my X that I procced from before. And now I know that back roll has an 8-second cooldown, and he just used it before I hit him with my force stun. So now I know he has it on cooldown. So if I hit him with a following daze, he doesn't have it up to get out of it. So here, and then I hit him with the X to proc the daze, and now I do some more damage. Out of that X, because it's a 2-second daze, I'm now going to use my wood block that allows me to then in turn use, you guessed it, my leaf step, which is another daze for 3 seconds. So I'm going to use it, I'm going to hit him with that daze, hit him with some more animation canceling, and now at the end of that, because I only get my close shave off of stunned opponents, I use my hook kick. And what my hook kick does, as I said before, if the enemy has a poison on them, as it is, as you can see, there's 2 seconds left on the poison on the enemy, I can use it, I can use the hook kick on them, get back into stealth, and get some chi back, and then I'll hit them with another stun now. And then boom, I hit him with my LB stun, my spinal tap. So I hit him with the LB stun, do some more damage, and now I finish that off with the close shave. And now again, thanks to the close shave, they're kind of stuck in the animation of coming back from the close shave. I will SS and use my body swap, my tab swap again. And I started this whole entire combo with that ability. And now you can see that it's up. And now you can see that it's up again. That's how long the ability was. It was more than 18 seconds that that combo was going through. So I'll use it, I will swap, and I will get into stealth again with my 1. And as I go into stealth, I'm going to use my 3, my shadowless step that goes above them and comes down. Now usually you use an LB stun, but I just used it, so I know I don't have it anymore. So I gotta be really careful that I remember what stuns I have at my disposition. I used my force stun very recently, and I also used my LB stun. I just finished it. I just finished with that LB stun, my spinal tap. So I know I don't have any of those 2 up, but I have my stun from the shadowless step when I go up in the air and come down. Now what I'm going to do is you can let it go all the way through, but what you can do is you can cancel the animation of the backflip of your shadowless step. And I want to show you what we're going to do. We're going to go up, we're going to come down, and then we're going to mash our tab, our kick into the air. We're going to mash our tab and kick him into the air as I land, and he gets stunned. And what's it called? It allows me to use that ability on the stunned enemy. Now be very careful, you don't want to mess it up with your tab. You don't want to mash it too hard that you also use your web when they're in the air, because then you ruin your combo. So be very delicate with that. So again, he's in the air, I follow up with the aerial, I use my moss, and I web him as he's coming down. As you see here, I put my, I'm going to now put my flower down again, my X, and my smoke grenade. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to use my proc my X, explode the bomb, he's going to backflip, and now because I had my LB from before, I didn't use it from before, I can use my LB here, or I could have used my lightning rod just like I did previously. And here we go, all over again. Stun him, and that's it. So that is the big kill combo. Now there's a couple variations to that. There's different little things you can do in between, but that is one of my favorites, and that is the one that I would recommend to you. If you play with a different style, let's say you play with knockdowns or the daze on your 1, remember your sweep kick that I said? If you play with knockdowns or dazes, you can use that. Especially the daze one, but I play a little bit differently. So for the sake of giving some more variety, I included my fellow assassin. He's also a diamond assassin. His name is Yoma. I included his favorite combo. Why? Because his favorite combo incorporates elements that I don't use in mine. Now he incorporates into his combo the silver wires, and also he plays with the knockdown the daze leg sweep in stealth. So your 1 ability, he specs for the daze, which is something that I don't use. So here we go. In this situation, he's fighting a Kung Fu Master, and the Kung Fu Master just used his Tab Escape. So he waited until he had to use his Tab Escape, and this is the optimal scenario for him to go ham. So he will stun, kick him into the air, do the aerial, and then he will drop the web and his two grenades, the bomb and the smoke grenade, and he will drop his flower. He steps back and uses his moths, and this is where it changes. So up until here, all assassin combos are the same as far as openers. As far as like starting them off. This is where he changes it up. So watch closely. He goes in, uses his 4, so his 4 in stealth, the lightning rod, the sweep, and he follows it up with animation canceling. Then he uses his close shave. He's going to hook kick them, explode the bomb, and as he backflips, he's going to proc his Shadow Shuriken, use the LB stun as well, catch him with his LB Spinal Tap, and he'll use his close shave again. And this is a really cool thing. Watch what he does. He uses his wood block to proc his RB Bolt Step for the execute damage because he has 5 poison stacks. That's a lot of poison stacks. It's going to be some big damage. So here it goes. Boom. And he uses it. He comes back, so he uses it, and then he procs his X, which teleports him behind the target to daze some more. And then he SS's, and where I would use a tab swap, he uses his wires. So he uses wires, pulls him to him, does some damage, and lifts him into the air. And there you go. That's it. Drops the web, and that's his combo. But now the KFM had his tab escape up, and he dodged it really, really nicely. So yeah, let's assume that he didn't have it still, but your combos are so long. Remember that at some point in your combos, they're going to have their tab escape back out because they're just so long. But look how much work he put into. Look how much damage he did. He went from 100 to what? That says 11% over there. So really nice combo by Yoma. That's his favorite combo. So check him out. I'll put a stream in the description. So now I'm going to show you a combo that's really powerful against spin classes because it's much safer than it's less risky than the other combo that you saw me or Yoma do, and it's less reliant on your timing of back roll on really important abilities. So let's play it out. So right now you're in stealth, and this is a scenario that you'll find yourself very often in against a destroyer or an LBM. So you're in stealth, and you have your tab swap up, which is your initiator, your big initiator against Lin Blade Masters and Lin Blade Dancers and destroyers. So here we go. I'm going to start it off. I'm going to drop a swap and hit him with the stun, throw him in the air, drop a moths, and then here we go. Now, I dropped my flower and my X first. Also, I kind of fucked up my placing of my smoke grenade. Make sure you place your smoke grenade better than I did here. I placed it behind him, not fucking... I placed it in a shitty spot according to where he landed. So here I put down my flower and my X first because I have to make sure that my bomb lasts the duration, because my bomb has a set time that it stays on the ground before I can detonate it. So I put my mine down a little later. So I step back and put my mine last. So then I open up with the force sweep, do the damage, use an X swap, hit him with the hook kick, get back into stealth, and then LB. Now you can do this when you have good ping. So anything below 70, you can do this. Try it if you got a little higher, but for example, I can't do it on EU with 110 ping. So here we go. LB, drop the swap again, and I'm going to detonate it. The second I use my close shave, I'm going to detonate it. I'm going to watch him. He's going to back roll here. I'm going to watch him. He's going to back roll, and then I'm going to use my 3, which is the knockdown. Because I'm playing against an LBM or a destroyer, and I love my shadow slash that knocks down. So now that so again, when you're knocked down, it's not like a daze where you can only back roll. Now, I got his back roll out of the way. That's one of his 3 things that I got out of the way. Now he can use his 1 to get up quickly, or he can use a ground counter. In this scenario, the enemy used a ground counter. And what do I do against a ground counter? I use my guard break. I watched it. I used my LB in time when it changed. And guard break. I use a neck swap again. I use a close shave after it. I get a little bit of chi back from using my LB button because I didn't place my my smoke grenade correctly and I didn't get as much chi back as I should. And out of this, I'm going to SS, drop a swap, and then use an LB. And look at that. I can kick him into the air and do that shit all over again. So here you go. And that is a combo against LBMs and destroyers. So really, really, really good. So for my next clip, I'm going to show you how to deal with chokes, seizes, and suppresses. So now, Force Masters, Blade Dancers, Destroyers, and KFMs, even the Summoner with the pet, have some kind of seize, choke, or suppress. Now the way you deal with them are all the same. There's two things you have to look out for. Now, now the duration of the chokes, the holding of like when they hold you, will change depending on what class they are. But the concept and the idea is all the same. Now I'm against the KFM here, and I get stunned, and at the end of it, I'll get thrown into the air, and he will then suppress me. Now, as you can see, there's a bar. Now this KFM aerial suppress is only 3 seconds. Now from the Summoner Cat, it's 5 seconds, and then it gets refreshed for another. For Summer Cat, it's 5 seconds, and then it'll do another attack that will be a couple seconds longer. For the Destroyers, it's 6 seconds, and then it will do another attack, or they won't, or they'll let you down. And the LBM and Force Master, they hold you for 6 seconds in their force chokes. But this one's 3 seconds. As you see, there's a bar. And now the bar counts down from the time that they're holding you, and they will stop holding you at the end of this. But when they have someone, their stance changes. They now can use different abilities because they are suppressing, choking, or seizing somebody. So now, this KFM could have done nothing, and the bar will just deplete and go to 0. But he uses an ability, and watch closely. The bar will restart. So watch closely. It restarts, and that's when you see it restart. The second you see it restart, you have a very small window. That's when you use your 2 ability. And that you do against every single class that has that mechanic, that seize, suppress, or choke mechanic. If they use an ability, and their abilities will change in terms of how fast the actual restart of the bar is and how much time you use to counter that. So that's how you deal with them. So that's when you use your 2. You wait, you watch the timer, when you see it restart, that's when you hit it. So if you were getting choked or suppressed, you can also kick. You can use your 1 to kick. But I wouldn't recommend it. Like, honestly, it's barely any damage. It will not change the outcome of the game. So make sure that you avoid whatever mechanic that they want to use within that choke against you, because that's what's important. Making sure that they don't use that ability, not getting off tiny little tidbits of damage while you're getting choked. So that's how you use it. Now, the second thing, and what I show in my LBM video, in my Blade Cancer video, is that there are some abilities when you're getting choked that don't reset the bar, that you can still counter. LBMs have an ability called their mark, the sword mark, and that will be an animation of a sword that comes out of the LBM and comes and hits you over the top of the head. When you see that sword come out, that's when you hit it. So you can go check out the Blade Dancer guide and see how you can deal with an ability that doesn't change or restart the cast bar. So that's how we deal with seizes, chokes, and suppresses. So we told you about the class, we taught you about our abilities, we've informed you on how to animation cancel. Come on guys, practice makes perfect. We've taught you some big money combos, And we showed you how to get out of and work around sieges and chokes. And now, to wrap up the guide, we're going to talk about openers. And openers are such an important part of arena matches because it really dictates if you got the offensive pressure or you on the defensive. If you're going to have to blow cooldowns to get out of their openers. So you really want to perfect these, and you really want to get them down because you can. There's a clear correlation between getting a good start and then winning the match. So, and Blade and Soul has this element in this out of combat element, and when you're out of combat, you can run, you can sprint, you can jump high in the air, and there are abilities that are specifically made for out of combat. Assassins have an RB that kind of teleports them behind them and gets you into stealth. Now, you can do other things in the air, and you might have noticed usually you can't press your abilities, your 1 through 4, your Z through V abilities when you're gliding, but there's this little element, this little mechanic that you can do and change that. If you stop your gliding, when you jump up and high in the air, you press spacebar, and then you stop your gliding for a second by pressing spacebar again, and then you use one of your abilities, while you're falling, in that split second, you can use one of your abilities, and then you can continue to glide by hitting spacebar again. And this, getting really good at this, is so important because you can use abilities in the air. So the abilities that you want to really use most of the time in the air are your flower. You want that down at the start of your arena match. You start that arena match, you jump up in the air, you use that flower. You want that down just in case shit goes bad in the opener. Second, you want to protect yourself. You want to use your wood block. And And last but not least, you can either use your 4, your moths, your tab swap, or you just glide right in and get into stealth. So let me show you how this is done. So what we're going to do, this is like your standard opener, and I would recommend it against Blade Masters or Kung Fu Masters because they have a block mechanic. If you're a destroyer, just go for the flower and the wood block. So here we go. I'm going to run at them, I'm going to use my moss and then run away. Now I'm going to use my moss and run away from them, and just in case, just so they can't use any of their out of combat abilities, and I get out of their radius and range really quickly. So drop the moss, jump away as high as I can, and once I'm in the air, here's where all the money happens. So I'm going to press spacebar, and now I'm going to glide. I'm going to glide, and then I'm going to stop my glide, press spacebar again, use my flower, and then continue gliding. Watch this. You see that? I stop my glide, put the flower down, started my glide again. So spacebar, V, spacebar. Then I'm going to use my wood block, and now I'm gliding, so I'm going to spacebar to start falling, use my my decoy, and then hit spacebar again. So here we go, spacebar, what's it called? Here we go, I use spacebar, wood block, spacebar. And you'll see your wood block is still, your decoy will show that it's still going. And I slide right in and get right behind them, just like that. So I showed you a variation of the opener with the RB at the end of it. I'm going to show you a variation where we tab swap at the end of it. Again, the importance of I'm fighting an assassin here, and the importance of using your moss against an assassin is that, let's say you did an opener where you just ran at them. But if I got the moss on you, the moss are going to follow you in stealth, follow the assassin that just ran and got stealth, and they're going to break him out of stealth. So this is why you want to do a real nice opener every time, because just a face roll opener with just RB and going to stealth, that's not good. So here we go. Let's play this out. So I'm against the assassin, so I'm going to run at him. I'm going to get my moss, jump in the air as high as I can. I'm going to drop my flower, use my wood block, and then as soon as I'm near him, I swap him. So there you go, and that is a simple opener. You can use this against assassins, you can use this against Blade Masters, coming from anyone really. It's a wonderful, wonderful opener. So that's it for my guide. Thank you all for watching, and this is your most handsome assassin, SlackerInc File, signing out. Take care, and go out and dunk some scrubs.